we're going to introduce our facilitator for today in the person of Thelma Dike. So Thelma, she's a product designer with skills in UX, user experience, research, and visual design. She enjoys creating beautiful and delightful designs on the web and mobile platforms. Currently, she works with the amazing team at Flutterwave, and in her spare time, she loves to take flower photographs, doodle, and try out new things. And today, she's here to discuss with us on how to carry out usability tests and its importance. Welcome once again to everyone, and welcome, Thelma.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Trevor, for the introduction. It's good to be here. Okay.
Yes, you have the floor. You can just go ahead. You have the floor.
Okay. So if you can hear me, just type hi in the comment section. Let me be sure that you are all here. Okay.
It's a lot of highs coming in.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm really glad to be here, and I'm looking forward to learning with you all. So I'll go on now to share my screen so that we can get started. Give me a minute. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, Thelma, I can see your screen.
Okay. Just a little bit of introduction, just like what Favor said. My name is Thelma, and I'm a product designer. In the last couple of years, I've worked across various industries, helping them build beautiful experiences for their users and also shaping these experiences for users. I currently work with the amazing team at Flutterwave, where I help to build amazing solutions for merchants all over the world. Well, like Africa for now, but yeah, over the world. So yeah, let's get right into it. Sorry. So before we get started, we're going to do a little exercise. This is going to be so much of a practical session, so I look forward to everyone participating. So the exercise is called a 5 seconds test. I want you to look at the screen for the next 5 seconds, and your time starts now. Time up. So, question, what was the first thing you saw? Drop it in the comment section. I'm going to check. Okay. Okay, the chat. Okay, everyone is saying the chat. Okay. Majorly the chat is what I'm saying. So what we just did is called a 5 seconds test. So it's a method of usability testing, because that's what we're going to be talking about, but I wanted us to do this test. It helps us, it helps gauge the user's first response to a screen. So how do people interpret in 5 seconds what they see? What is the first thing that catches their attention on a page? Is it what I want to show them? Is it what I want them to see? In this case, this is just a random screen. So yeah, most likely the chat. And that would help me make decisions on, oh, okay, I need to adjust this, or I need to change this, and all of that. There are other methods of, usability test. There is a question test, there's a navigation test, there's a click test, there's a preference test, and there's the A/B test as well. So these are used to test various things. For instance, the question test helps discover which order of content is most engaging. The navigation test helps to understand how users navigate between screens. The click test is used to basically understand like how are users able to click between screens. And the preference test, just like the name implies, which of the designs do users prefer? A/B testing is also like the preference test as well. Yes, so now we get started. Nelson Norman Group said the only way to get UX design right is to test it. And I can't agree less, because one, there are a lot of reasons. There's a lot of reasons you're not the user, which is like a common thing that has been thrown around in the design industry. It's so common that it has probably lost its meaning, but the meaning is still valid. You are never the user. So it's important that you test whatever design that you've created to see how people use this design and what catches people's attention as you use it. So looking at this picture, you can see that there is someone, with a pen, a paper, and glasses, wearing their glasses, and someone else sitting down with a computer, trying out things. If you join this session like early enough, I remember hearing Favor say that usability test is more of an observational method. So it's more of you observing the user, looking at what they're doing less of the talking and watching users, rant and talk and talk and talk. So that's our role as designers. That's our role as UX designers, basically, and that's what we're going to be diving in deep today. What is usability testing? So in simple terms, usability testing is just the ability to assess a product or an interface prototype to understand how people perceive the product, how people use the product, how people are able to complete a task within the product. So you can test with a group of representative users. You have to find out your potential users and test with them. Usability testing is very crucial in the user-centered design process, and it can be performed in many ways. You can go to a cafeteria and get people, just talk to someone and say, oh, I can get you a cup of coffee if you help me look at this, or I can get you a plate of rice or a plate of, amala, whatever the case is, if you help me complete this test. And it can also be you bringing in people in a formal lab testing session and getting them hands-on to look at things that you've created and watch them interact with the product. It can also be you carrying out a remote-based usability testing, basically watching them, just like we're on this call and doing this meeting together. That's how usability testing works. How does it work? Okay, yeah, I would explain this. So the way usability testing works is a researcher comes up with a plan and a list of tasks they want to be accomplished by a certain group of people. And then these tasks are then carried out by the selected users under observation by the researcher. So as the researcher or the designer in charge, you have to be there to observe. You hear observation a lot in this talk, so just get ready. And there will be recordings, there will be notes taking for future references and analysis. Also, after a number of these tests, the researchers are able to sit together and compare the observations that they've seen. So just like the test we had earlier, the 5-second test. So one thing that I saw that was very rampant was everybody saying, oh, the charts, I could see the charts first. So that's something that is so dormant. And that's an area, oh, what is most obvious on this screen now is the chart. Is that what I want to be the focus of the user? So that's when, after the test, the researchers get to analyze the test and are able to come up with these deductions and, list of issues and functionalities that they've discovered. What are the benefits of usability testing? One, it is affordable. It's affordable in the sense that you can just randomly select people and buy them food, and they'll help you test your product. Sometimes you don't even need to buy them food. You just need to say, oh, I have this thing that I want you to try out. Can you help me look at it? And then you don't need to even compensate them. You can just say, oh, thank you. Most of the time when I've carried out usability testing, I've not had a compensation budget, but I was able to always send thank you cards, thank you emails. It's very affordable. It's something you should do and try out as often as possible. You are not the user. That's another benefit of it. So because you're not the user, you can get to try out usability testing and see how people perceive the product. Next is, it is convincing. So there was a time I carried out usability tests and I was shifting a button from position A to position B because during a usability test session, I discovered that about 5 of the people I interviewed kept asking, oh, why is this button here? I don't understand. Why is it here? Why is it like standing alone at this end? I was thinking that it was for this function and not for this function. So when I moved it to the right, I was able to, when I was asked the question by management, oh, why did this move from here to here? I thought we agreed that it should be on the right. I was able to explain that, oh, I carried out a usability test session and users found it difficult to understand why this button was here. So when you mention users, and because everybody is aware that they're not the user, people are able to also understand that, oh yeah, that's true, it's not what we want. And you should always have data to back up what you're saying. So if you're saying that users said this, there should be like a research tests analysis or something that you've documented in the past after you've carried out your test, so that you can share it with stakeholders and they are aware of what is changing and why it's changing. And they're just in the loop of the conversation. Then the goals of usability testing. Usability testing leads to creating the right products and experience for your users. So one important goal of usability test is to identify flaws in your product. It might be hard to take most of the time, and it might be hard to take and also difficult to implement, but it's very important you take the pain now than take the pain when the product launches. So when you identify these flaws, you are able to like document it and work with the team to start implementing it. Another important goal of usability testing is to discover whether participants can complete tasks successfully and independently. So if I want a user to create an account, how can they successfully create this account and without no support? Because I don't want them to always come back to the support team and say, oh, I had issues creating my account. Oh, I clicked on this and this was showing. Do you get, like, discover whether participants can complete tasks successfully and independently. Also, the duration it takes to complete the task. So how long, it's not just, oh, were they able to complete it successfully? How long did it take them to complete it? How many minutes? How many seconds? How long did it take them? Because the building a great experience for users is not just how successful are they able to like complete a task. It's also like, how long did it take them to complete the task? That's something that quantitative data helps us measure. So see how satisfied users are with your product. When you carry out usability tests, you hear users say a lot of things. Some people swear, some people say a lot of things, but then it helps you understand as the designer, as the researcher, it helps you understand how your product is perceived, how people are satisfied with your product, and how they're able to complete tasks within your product. Lastly, it helps you identify changes required to improve user performance and satisfaction. So now you figured out the problem. You can now go on to identify places of improvement. And as you're improving these areas, you're not just improving, you're not moving a button for moving sake. You're moving a button because you're trying to improve the user's performance. You're trying to ensure that user is satisfied with your product. You're making this adjustment based on user requirements, not based on you just felt like changing something, or you just felt like adjusting something. No, it has to come from the user, and the aim is to ensure that users are satisfied as much as possible with your product. There are types of usability testing. There's qualitative usability testing and there's quantitative usability testing. So qualitative usability testing is focused on collecting insights, findings about how people use the product or service. It's best for discovering problems in the user experience. So how do people experience your product? How do people find your product? Do they find it engaging? Do they see, are they agreeing with the content on your application? Are they agreeing with the content on your website? Do they resonate with it? Is it easy for them to discover? Is it easy for them to navigate through? That's what qualitative usability tests help you uncover. Then quantitative is focused on metrics. So two common metrics to collect is task completion and how long it takes to complete the task. So, task success and how long it takes to complete the task. So task success is just like what we spoke earlier, how can a user complete the task independently and successfully as well, and what's the duration it takes them. So if you're going that approach of usability test, that's what's called quantitative. But if you're going the approach of saying, oh, are they having the best experience? Are they engaging? Are they resonating with the content? Are they agreeing with some of the things here? How feasible is this product for them? How usable is this product for them? That's when you're carrying out qualitative usability test. Remote versus in-person. So there are scenarios where you have to carry out in-person usability tests, which involves you bringing people into a certain room, and then showing them the app prototype or showing them the website or showing them whatever that you have to show them, and then watch them use it there. You can have a series of observers, take notes, people that would watch. So the problem with in-person usability test is that it's not always budget friendly, because now you have to take care of their transportation or your transportation. If you're renting a hall, you have to take care of that as well. If you're buying a lot of things, maybe camera, food, and all of those things, you have to pay for them. But when you're carrying out remote usability tests, they are the most popular ones. It requires less time and less money as well. So when you're carrying out your remote usability test, sorry about that. When you're carrying out remote usability tests, you have to ensure that some things are also in place. You have to always check in with the user. You have to always set up the link, all of those things. But it's easier and more comfortable because you also meet the user at their specific location. For instance, if you're testing a platform for merchants or a platform for people who sell, they're able to test out the application where they are, which is going to be most likely their shop at all times. So that's an advantage. There are two types of remote usability tests. There's the moderated and the unmoderated. The moderated one functions like the in-person usability test. So you're going to still be there. you'll be the moderator in the session, watching the user, observing them do this, carry out these activities. But the unmoderated one is you create a link, you set up this link using tools like user testing, look back, etc. You set up this link, share it with your users. This link will contain a list of tasks you want them to accomplish. And as they're accomplishing it, like the platform is recording their screen engagements and their voices, what they are saying. But unmoderated is, I would say, is time consuming because you have to go back and listen to these recordings always. So you have to go back, watch these recordings and take notes as well. So it depends on like your participants and your timing as well. Now, how do you conduct usability tests? One is you create your prototype or your design, whatever the case may be. If you have a design already, you have an application live, whatever you want to test, you get it ready. You prepare your test plan, you recruit participants, you moderate and facilitate the testing, and then you analyze your findings. So now we go deep into each of them. Create your prototype. So get your designs ready. Make sure that the prototypes are functioning properly. Make sure that everything you need is ready and they are linked properly so that when a user is interacting, it's not that they click here and something is missing and you're not saying, oh, sorry, I made a mistake. It happens, but as much as possible, try to eliminate that stress. Next is prepare your test plan. So in preparing your test plan, you have to set the goals and objectives that you would like to achieve. You define how you want to test. Is it remote? Is it in person? Is it moderated? Is it unmoderated? You set the user tasks and prioritize the most important ones. So this is very important because you cannot have a usability test without setting the tasks you want your users to accomplish. So what are the things I want them to do? Do I want them to create an account? And what are the top most important tasks, like the 5 most important tasks that I want a user to complete before we move to the next thing? Is it creating an account? Do I want to track how fast it is for them to create an account? Next, is it creating, let's say, a folder within the platform? Is it creating a Google Docs within the platform? How fast are they able, plan all of these things out, set out these tasks and prioritize the most important ones to be the first ones users are able to accomplish before they, start attending to the less important ones, like maybe changing profile picture, unless that's like important in the scenario. But yeah, then recruit participants. Before you recruit your participants, you have to define your participants' requirements. So by defining participants' requirements, you have to ensure that you know who your users are. You know, okay, for instance, if I'm designing an application for people who are tech savvy, whoever I'm testing with has to be tech savvy. Or if I'm designing a mobile app now, whoever I'm going to test with has to have a mobile app. It's not that they're using touchlight phone and you're testing with them, unless maybe it's temporal ticket. Then you can use surveys, questionnaires to find the suitable candidate. So I remember a time I carried out a usability test, and what we first did was we created surveys. So we shared these surveys with people online and across our current users. We shared these surveys with them. And after we shared the surveys, people who had collected a certain range of data. So it was a forms application. So we wanted people who create forms as often as possible and who create like the who collect like large quantities of data. So we had to use the survey to sieve out those people, get their emails and send them requests to carry out usability tests with them. So that's also a way to help find the suitable candidates. But if in a case where you don't have access to users or people, you can advertise and offer incentives. If you use Medium a lot, you will know that there was this period where they were carrying out a usability test on their session. I don't know if it's a usability test, but a user interview, sort of. And they were compensating people from certain locations who were going to volunteer to handle the sessions with them. So that's also something you can do. You can offer, if it's 1,000, you can offer 10,000, whatever amount you have. You can even offer to send them gift cards or send them water bottle souvenirs, whatever you have and whatever you can afford, or thank you notes as well, they work. Next is you can find contacts through user groups. So if you don't have money for all of those things, you can also look for people within communities, within various communities. Facebook is a good place to find all of these groups. So you go there, you search. Another good place is LinkedIn. You can search for groups available. Just randomly join these groups and ask people if they are willing to help you out. It's often difficult to do that, but it's what they try. So it's something you can try in a bid to get users. If you're also designing a tech-savvy application, you can look out for people who are in communities, design communities, developer communities, whatever you have at hand. Just try to recruit people who meet your criteria, because you have a certain participant requirement that you want these people to meet. Next is facilitate the testing. So to facilitate this testing, you have to send reminders to participants, days, minutes, prior to the testing time. So it's not just, you've scheduled this test and you can just go and relax and chill, and then on the day you show up. It doesn't work like that. People will cancel on you last minute. So you have to ensure that you're always reminding them a day to the interview, 30 minutes to the interview, 5 minutes to the interview. Tell them that, oh, this is the link, and share the link. There are certain things you have to share. You have to share the links with them, the link to join the call. You have to also, you have to share the link to join the call. You have to also tell them, oh, I need you to download certain platforms. I need you to install these apps. I need you to also be available. Find a serene environment, a very quiet environment for this call. Ensure that your internet is as fast as possible. Communicate all of those things through your reminder, your email, or the call, whatever means you're going to use. Ensure that you're communicating that effectively so that they don't forget. Next is to bring in these participants and colleagues. When you bring them in on the day, you have to introduce them and welcome them to the session. Ensure you confirm the names. So if you're speaking to someone, you have to say, oh, hi, I'm so. Can you introduce yourself and what you do? Let them introduce themselves and feel like they're part of the session. If they are members of your team or observers joining, introduce members of your team, mention that, oh, they're going to be part of this session as well. They're just going to be here to look and observe. If you have questions, they will ask you, all of that, and ask for consent. So if you've not already done that, it's important you ask for consent to collect their data, because if you don't and they sue you next time, it's on you. Then permission to record. Ensure that you always record your session for reference purposes. I can't emphasize this, so that when trouble is on the way or trouble is not on the way, you're able to present what you've carried out. Members of your team can also watch these videos later on to understand what you're saying, to even help be part of the analysis process. Then ask the user to share their screen to start. So when they share their screen, you can start, you monitor them, you ensure that you don't cut them off. You ensure that you don't cut them off, let them be themselves as much as possible. So analyze findings. When you're done with that, this is a template for analyzing your findings. One is to describe the title of the usability test. After you do that, you talk about the method you used. Did you use in-person usability test, or did you use remote moderated or remote unmoderated usability test? Next is research assumptions. Research assumptions has to do with what are the assumptions you had before getting into this test? Or maybe I had 30% of users are able to complete these tasks, or 100% of users are able to complete these tasks. So you attach all of that there. Then success metrics. So time, completion of test tags, completion list, you add all of that there. Then results and conclusion. What are the results that you're able to get from this test? What is the conclusion? Was the test successful? Then design recommendations. What are the things you're going to change? What are the things you're going to adjust? How does this influence design? How does this influence things that you have to change? You have to attach all of this here. And this is a report you get to share with your team, your manager, key stakeholders in the firm, your product manager, your design manager, whoever is involved. You just have to share it with them so that they are in the loop of the test you carried out and what happened in the test, the outcome of this test. Factors to consider when budgeting for your test. One is time. You're going to ensure that, like I mentioned earlier, prioritize the tasks you want users to complete, because people have their own schedule and they're just doing you a favor. Yes, you might be offering them incentives, but they're doing you a favor. So you have to put into consideration the time users are going to be giving to you and the time it will take you as well. Because I had an issue when I carried out a test sometime, a usability test. The first time we budgeted 2 weeks for the test. And during the recruitment process of the participants, we couldn't get the number of participants we wanted. So it took us an extra 2 weeks, that's 4 weeks in total, to be able to carry out this usability test successfully. So it's important you put into consideration time, especially time required to recruit participants. That's like the most stressful phase of the whole process. Getting participants, getting them registered, and all of that. Next is recruiting costs, getting people on board. How much is it going to cost you? What is it going to cost you? So ensuring that you put that into consideration. If you're carrying out in-person usability test, so you have to consider a lot of things. Like even the rental cost, like I mentioned, like the venue you're going to use, how much is it going to cost? If you're going to get food for them, because you can't bring people and stress them out, start giving them snacks or something. How much is that going to cost? You have to put those things into consideration. Next is participant compensation. So what are you going to compensate the user with? Think about it. It's not always nice to just use their time and not even something as a reward for the time that they've given. Time is very precious, so it's important to put that into consideration as well. Next is tips to carrying out usability tests. Keep short and let users struggle. This is easy and difficult because sometimes when you see people trying out things, you're like, the button is just there. How to navigate the next place is just there. But as users, as designers, we have to always understand that, whenever you see people struggle or users struggle, that's a flaw in your design. That's a flaw on your own part. So it's something to take note of. Oh, okay, people are not noticing this thing. I remember a time I carried out a usability test and I added a microphone somewhere, and almost everybody who used the application did not notice the microphone. Like it was as if the thing was not there. So at the end of the session, I kept asking, okay, I noticed that you didn't click on this. What happened? There is this mic, or I start with, there is this microphone there. And they're like, oh, I didn't notice it. So it was a flaw. That means it's not as obvious as I expected it to be. And it's something to change on my part. So say okay and yeah often. So don't just keep calm. Just when a user is saying, what does this mean? You're like, okay. Or as they're talking, they can be, when they're interacting with your product, they can just be saying whatever. Just say okay and yeah, so that they feel like you're there and you're not just absent doing something else when they are there interacting with your product. Next is ask reverse questions. I think this is also, I tried to embed this with echo, boomerang, sorry, this is a type of boomerang and Colombo methods. So another thing is what reverse question means is when a user says, oh, can I log in? You would ask, what do you think you should do? Or you ask, what do you think? What would you do if you were at home? Or what would you do if, you were doing this by yourself? You just ask the reverse question. Or when they say, where, you're like, where? Reverse the question to them. Use pauses and silences if you need to. So ensure that you're as quiet as possible and you let the user do their thing. Echo, boomerang, and Colombo methods, like I mentioned earlier, echo means repeating what a user said, but in a question format. Like I said, where? You now ask them where, so that they can go further. When you say that, they're able to like communicate better. Or when they're like, what's this? What's this? They're like, what's what? Just to keep the flow going. Then for boomerang, it's just like handing over to the user what they ask. So can I click this button, or can I search? Is it possible to search? You would ask them, what do you think you should do? Ask them what they think they should do. And you have to watch your tone. So it doesn't sound like you're commanding them or you're sounding condescending. So as much as possible, your tone is very important. Congo method is like asking partial questions to users in a non-leading way. So you're just going to say something like, if you're going to ask things like, oh, just like what I mentioned about the microphone. Yeah, that's a great example. Just like what I mentioned about the microphone. You see, oh, there's a microphone there. You just leave the statement there. There's a microphone there. And they're like, oh, maybe they'll help you complete it. Most of the time, they'll help you complete it. Other users can just keep quiet and let you, some users will just keep quiet and let you complete your statement. But most times, they're able to say, oh, I didn't notice it. Oh, there's something there. They quickly go to click it. So that helps you get answers from them as well in a non-leading way. Not like you're saying, oh, didn't you notice the microphone there? Or don't you notice the microphone there? Also, don't forget the tags or slash plan list verbatical typo. So it's important that whatever your test plan is, because when I'm creating my test plan, I always include introduction questions, warm-up questions, core questions, concluding questions. But these are like guides. It's important that you don't follow them exactly as it is. So it's just something you do later on. You just use for check. Oh, did I ask this question? Did I ask this question? Has this question been answered already in the midst of other questions? So there are times when you want a user to carry out a test, or you want to ask them a follow-up question after they've carried out a test. It's important you pause for a minute and see if they've already either performed that action or answered the question when they're like interacting with the product. So you don't just repeat it, and also so that it doesn't just look like the flow is not nice, the vibe is not nice, and all of that. So now we're going to do like a practice. Is everybody still here? Because I've been talking for a long time, and it's time for you guys to join in what I'm going to do. If you're still here, say I'm still here. Okay. Who else? Okay. Okay. Hope you've been learning so far. So before we go into the practical session, I would want two people to tell me what they've taken away, like their key takeaways from the session right now. So what have you learned from the session? Anybody who wants to talk? Just say yes, I want to talk.
Yeah, I think you can just raise your Zoom hands and I will allow you to like unmute you so you can speak. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much for the session, Thelma. And definitely I've learned a couple of things in here. And for at least for I've done lots of usability tests in my time, and definitely learning about those methods of echoing things back to users, because you definitely don't want to guide them. I did them subconsciously, but I didn't know there was actually a term for it, because you realize that if you guide the users when they are doing their testing, there's a high chance your testing is going to fail. But if you watch them really fumble and struggle and they can't do it, then it's actually a very good learning. So thank you so for giving us those particular descriptions and those constraints and things to watch out for.
Thank you so much, Monshope. Thank you, Ayodeji. I can see your comment. You said make sure to not interfere with what the user is doing the test, and also compensate them for their time. So yeah, thank you. I'm glad
We
that
have one more person.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for the session so far. So I learned that I'm new to something like this. So the first thing I learned was that you're actually trying to get the feedback of what you are doing. And number two is that they might be doing you a favor, and you must condition your statements to follow the process, be flowing with the people. And again, I also learned that testing, that running the process is taking time. Hello?
We can hear you. You just muted yourself.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, and I also learned about timing, that when we want to time ourselves, when we budget the time and expenses, then we must actually give room and be exact. We give room for errors. Like the example you cited, that you planned 2 weeks, but then you ended up doing 4 weeks in the process. So I think I learned that we should actually plan to appreciate them also, everyone that took part in the testing. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing. Victor, want to share?
Hi, Thelma.
Hi, Victor.
Hi. So far, it's been a great section. Thanks so much for hosting this. Yeah. So I'll just share what I've learned so far. So I would say what I've learned so far is we are designing for users. Yeah. So we should always focus on the users. We are not designing for ourselves as designers. We are designing for users, and our focus should be for our users. We should always pay attention to what the user do much more faster and much more easier for them. So basically, so far, yeah, that's what I've learned. Yeah, and it's been a great section. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mary, you would be the last person. So, Mary, can you share? Can you hear Mary? Okay, I think Mary is off. Okay, Michael then. Michael would be the last person.
Okay, I say what I've learned is that, apart from you just showing your design to users, you want to be as empathetic as possible. I think is a great skill for this kind of thing. You want to watch your tone, want to make sure that the user is as comfortable as possible and free to use the application. I think it comes it's with that you get the right feedback when you create an environment that is as comfortable for the user to actually use the product.
Okay.
Thank you. The session has been brilliant.
Okay. Thank you so much, Michael. Okay, Mary, you can go. I don't know why you're going off and on. So I need a volunteer. We're going to be carrying out a usability test plan, and we're going to plan it together during this session. And yeah, I can share the slides through Favor. Yeah, the community. So Sorry, give me a minute. Okay. So we're going to, this is the website we're going to be testing out. The couple of actions, you're to carry out. So we're all going to plan it together. I'm going to share a link in the comment section so that everyone can see it. It's going to be tricky because all of you are going to be the users now. But yeah, let's just vibe. It's just us learning together. Okay, so first thing is to have a design. So this is like what we are going to be working with. Do you get this? The design we are going to be working with. So we are basically going to try to figure out what are the key things we want people to try out, who are our participants, and all of that. So the first thing is maybe a brief description of what Adonis Mastery is. So I think there should be an about us, but let's just pick this. Sorry. True practical screencast. Okay, so that's what Adonis.js is about. Next is, what is the goal of this research? So the goal of this research is, who can help us? I am Victor. What should be the goal of this research? I've shared the website. What do you think should be the goal of the research? I'm going to be calling out random names, so get ready. Can you guys hear me?
Hello. Hi,
Okay.
Thelma.
Hi.
Okay. Okay, you said I should say the goal of this website here.
Yeah, what do you think is the goal of this research? So we want to carry out a usability test for Adonis Mastery website. So what do you think should be the goal of the test? By looking at, the websites. This is an assumption. Like whatever you say is going to be an assumption. It's not like it's set in stone.
Okay, so I feel the goal should be for, we are targeting students who want to learn about, they just want to learn new skills basically. So the goal is to target users that want to learn new skills basically.
Okay. Okay. Well, you raised your hand.
And
Okay.
basically a course or something, yeah.
Okay. Well, you raised your hand. That's correct. I'm going to come back to that.
Okay, hello. Yeah, so what it is for is, after the process here, they should be able to make screencasts.
Okay. That's another way to look at it. So what you both said is correct in a way. So the platform is a learning platform for people who want to learn Adonis.js. So the goal of this is not just to target users who want to learn, it's also to target people who want to learn Adonis.js, because it's not just learning anything, is to find people who want to learn Adonis.js and ensure that when they come on the platform, they're able to find the courses and learn it easily, because there are courses and tutorials there. So the goal of this is to help people or users, whatever, who want to learn have a seamless okay, sorry. sorry, I made a mistake. The goal is to help users who want to learn Adonis.js have a seamless learning experience. No, the goal is to discover flaws and loopholes in the experience. So as much as possible, the goal at every time is to improve the experience. Other times it can be the goal of the usability test can be to discover the loopholes in the sign-up process, because when you notice that people are not signing up as much as you want them to, that can be the goal of your research. And that thing can be, oh, people are not subscribing to your plan as often as you want them to. So, excuse me, that can be the goal of whatever usability test you're carrying out. So, but for this, let's make it more targeted to like the sign-up process. So we want to discover flaws and loopholes in the sign-up process for users who want to, so that we can fast sign-up process for users who want to learn Adonis.js. So what methodology should we use for this? Who wants to help us out? Raise your hand, raise your hand. Or should I randomly pick again? Or you can drop in the comment, yeah. Okay, yes. Okay, thank you, Moshope. Yes, we can use remote moderator test. Because this is live, we have to use, that's the best thing for us to use now because we are live and we can't say, oh, let's schedule it later or invite someone to join. So remote moderator test would be used for this session. User tags. So one task would be to create an account. That's like the major task. Next is to try to select a plan. And then validate their email. Should be the next emails. And then log into account. So these are like the key tasks that I want the user to complete. So this would help me understand where in this flow that the user drops off. Because as you see, when you click on get started, it takes you to the pricing. So that's the next step. After the pricing, it takes you to like imputing your account. That's to like create account. So after this is most likely going to be validating your account. We would find out then, but this is like a template. Next would be to your participant criteria. So this can vary. It can be tech savvy. They have to be developers because Adonis.js is a developer who uses Adonis.js / wants to learn, because there are people who want to learn as well. This is a platform for them to learn. Next would be they should have an age bracket. Let's say, there are developers, we have a lot of young people now who are getting into tech. So we can't really say, we can say 12. I don't know if they're, or 14, 12, 14. I know that there are quite young people who are developers. Or we can remove the age thing because this industry, age is usually not a barrier. So yeah, these are like the key ones. They have to be tech savvy and they have to be developers. Developers are usually tech savvy. Number of people required. You can, every time you're carrying out you're trying to recruit people for your test, ensure that you target a higher number than the number you actually want to test. For instance, if you want to test 20 people, look for 40 to 50 people to sign up. Why I'm saying this is there's going to be last minute cancel, so you have backup. If you're going to test 10 people, ensure that about 20 or 30 people registered, so that if one person cancels, you have backup ready for you. Target is for this, let's say 5 people, but we are going to be, let's say target is 1 person, basically. We will be recruiting. It's usually not advisable to test 1 person because that would be so biased. Sorry, 1 person. So if you talk to 5 people, you can be able to find the major issues with your design. If you talk to at least 5 people, that's like something that is known to be true. So most times you don't need to talk to a large number of people. You just need 5 people. You can recruit 8 people. So let's just say 5. Target is 5 people, but we'll be recruiting 10 people. This is just demo. Compensation, notes and gift cards. Tools to use, we'll use Zoom. So for here, for the warm-up question, I have like a template that I usually use, so I'll just go right in and copy it. So for the one question, it's just going to be you introducing yourself. For this, we'll use Adonis.js. So hello, I would like to introduce you to Adonis.js. Then you talk about the application. I know you work a lot with data. This was like for the case. And then I would appreciate your opinions on the experience of the product. I have a couple of questions to ask, and I'm very much interested in hearing your stories and experiences. So this is like how you frame it. Oh, hello, my name is Delma, and I work with so team at wherever. I would like to introduce you to this application that we're working on, Adonis.js. It's, I know you like to, let's just try to download this to Adonis.js. I know you like to, or I know you work. So I would appreciate your opinions on the experience of the product. I have a couple of questions to ask you, and I'm very interested in, then you ask them. This is like just you trying to make them very comfortable. Like or let's just gist. You start with banting. Oh, what's your typical work day like? What are your interests? What are your non-interests? How are you doing this season? You know, because this is like an Adonis platform, most of them, it's what they used to work or what they're trying to learn. So they can mention it in as you're asking this question. So the times I've done this, most times when I ask people for their interest or their non-work interest, when they highlight something, it makes me skip maybe the next 3 questions and jump right into the core question. So you mustn't, like I said earlier, you mustn't follow everything verbatically. So ensure that you listen attentively and then able to pick when to move on to the next question. So core questions can be for this, we're just going to be watching, so they might not necessarily be core questions. It can just be follow-up questions like, why did you say or whatever? Because this is like you basically experiencing the product, unless you have a list of core questions. So like for this, I had like questions, what tasks were you able to complete? Oh yeah, these are like great questions to ask as well. What tasks were you able to complete? What tasks couldn't you complete? What tasks did you find difficult to complete? Sometimes you already have your notes, but you can just ask it to confirm. And that thing I loved asking was, what are the 2 important features that you loved so much entirely? Or what are the 2 things you love, or one thing that you loved so much about this platform, and they're able to highlight it? What is one thing that you hate about this platform, or you think, you don't use the word hate, you can just say you think should be improved, and people would mention it to you, so you take notes. So yeah, I even missed this. So, yeah, you can just add this. But like I said earlier, ensure you don't follow this thing verbatically, because a user can just make a statement that you need to change, and you have to be conscious of it. Then concluding questions: do you have any more feedbacks? How much would you pay for this platform? And whatever. Then thank you notes and conclusion. I'll just add this because I'll be sharing what we have as a template for anyone who wants to carry out usability test. That would be all. So who wants to be our volunteer, so that we can try it and you guys see how I would most likely carry out my test on a normal day? Favor, do you want to? Okay, Ayomide, where is the person? Okay, so you have to share your screen. That's a requirement. So you have to be in a comfortable place and ready to share your screen for us to all watch and see. Are you ready, Ayomide? Or you can talk if you want to.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not in a comfortable place right now. So maybe someone else should go.
Okay. Favor, do you want us to do it together? Since you're already on your laptop. Okay, OL, do you have your screen ready?
Let's see.
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. So I'll stop sharing now so that you
But
can
I use
check.
a phone. I'm using a phone.
No problem, no problem. We'll all watch. Okay. You can go on and share your screen.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can. I can see your screen.
Okay, let me look for the link.
Okay, before you start, so, okay, let's say we're on a call and this is how we're going to start. So hi, what's your first name, please? Sorry, so that.
Lanre.
Larry, thank you. Okay, hi, Larry. My name is Thelma, and I work with the Adonis Mastery team. And we're carrying out a usability test session to help us see like how our users are currently using the product and why we are having a lot of, find out glitches in your process. Thank you so much, first of all, for agreeing to do this with me. I really do not take your time for granted.
Welcome.
Yeah. So now we can get right into it. Can you introduce yourself and tell me what you do?
Okay, my name is Balogun Larawaju, and I'm a salesman, but currently I'm trying to work my skill up into product design and management. So it's the more reason why I actually attended this conference or this meeting.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Can you share? So I want you to, sorry, this is outside of what we are doing, but I want you to just assume that you work with Adonis JS. You use the programming language Adonis JS. This is an assumption, and because you're not the right user, guys, take notes because he's not someone who uses Adonis JS. This is not he's not supposed to make it to my research. He's not supposed to make it to my testing session. So, but for the case of this demo, we're going to be using him. And please, Larry, just assume that you work with Adonis JS. It's a programming language, so you can just take
Create an account.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay. I want to see the various things that are there now to just know what's about.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to take a course, right? Hello, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I said I should take a course, Abby. I'm planning to take a course, Abby.
Yes, yes. Make sure you think out loud. You can say anything you want to say. Just
Okay, I'm actually trying to check the various courses that they have available and the pricing, migrating to Adonis JS, deploying at Adonis JS 5. Okay, well, I really don't understand many of those things that are here, but then I know that if I can actually sign in and subscribe to their emails, probably when I get their emails, I would be expecting so much more information, just like I did by signing up for Treford's email. So I'll just proceed to signing up for their email this thing. So let me just sign up. Opa. Okay. Sorry, I'm still expecting the mail. I don't know why I've not seen it. Let me check it in all mails. I didn't get the email. The email hasn't come. So I think the code to send the email, the backend code didn't actually send. The email has been taken, but then on the email I didn't get this thing. So it's checking for mail again. Let's see if it sees it.
Do you mind searching for Adonis JS in your spam folder?
It's still checking for me. I don't know why it's slow, but I have a second email. Let me send the mail to this one from there. Okay.
Yes, what Moshe was said is right. So this is a big insight. So now a lot of users are signing up, but they are not finding the email in their platform. That's a big feedback for the Adonis.js team. So that's something at this point, you don't even have to even comment on the user. You just have to say, okay, and take notes. Then you can ask, oh, why didn't you try, the spam? Why didn't you try checking the spam? You get notes, and they'll be like, they can now give you answers. Oh, it didn't occur to me to check my spam. It didn't occur to me to check my promotions. So that's something to take note of there. Like, it's a big bug in their process. Thank you, Mushabe. So, Larry, you can try checking your spam and promotions, I think.
Okay, now I wanted to see if it was my email that was not sending that was not downloading the mail from Adonis.js. So I sent myself a mail from my second email. And this is the email that just landed here by 17:13. So it means that I could actually receive a mail, but it was the platform that didn't send me the mail.
Okay. For the sake of time, can you try checking your spam session so that we can...
Okay, spam, are we? Basically, when I have spam messages, I check them in all mails. This app does not show false, but once I check all mails, whether it's spam, whether it's in everything, it comes down here. I will see them here, but I might not see them in inbox. But once it is something like that, once I come to all mails, I should see them. So even...
Can you check your junk? Can you check junk?
Okay, junk. Okay, there's one in junk.
So you guys see the problem. You see a big problem here, and this might be a reason why they are having a...
Hello, are you there? Can you hear me?
Hello, Larry.
Yeah.
I believe I'll tell my fools, and she'll probably join in back shortly. But in the meantime, I think you can just continue with the process and still think out loud, but you hold on once you understand.
Okay.
Sorry there, guys. I noticed I jumped in and it was a reflex during that part where I told him to check his spam. Really apologize about that. That was just like a reflex of trying to solve the problem on the go. But yes, I hope we've all been enjoying the session so far, how it's going, and I hope we're all learning on the go. So, welcome, Selma. Okay. Okay, sweet. Hello, Telma. You can unmute yourself.
Okay, is she back?
Yes, Telma is back. Yes.
My internet went off, so I went to fix it. I'm sorry about that. Okay.
No problem. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome, Telma. So I actually saw it in that junk just like you directed me, and I clicked on it. It brought me back to this page, and what I was actually expecting was that if I would see something like, okay, you have successfully confirmed your email, then proceed to this and this, but then nothing like that showed up. I wanted to be sure if my account was successful. So I clicked on this profile icon here. So I saw that the only thing I could see there was sign out. After dashboard settings and this, I saw sign out, which means that I've actually signed in as a registered maybe member of the community of Adonis.js. So I think I've completed that process from there.
Okay, okay. So that would be all actually, but thank you so much. Thank you so much, Larry. This was really insightful. So one of the key takeaways from this session would be that signing up has been a glitch, basically. Like, it's very difficult for people to sign up. And what else? What else? Who else took notes? What else did you notice should be like in the design recommendations? Yes, yes, you can. You can get a link to the notification. I'll share everything alongside. Okay, yes, yes. So someone said notification to tell them to check spam or junk, which is very true. Shopper said we designed the experience to allow users have access to the site while they later verify their emails. I totally agree with this. It's you can allow them have access to the platform, maybe restrict a couple of features so that they don't have access to some features pending when they verify their emails, but as much as possible allow them to sign up and start experiencing the platform before they get to validate their email. And that reason why that's a good approach is because most people, and see, you can try it out later and see, you can become conscious of it and see how it works. Most times when I sign up on a platform and they send me a link to verify my email, once I go to my email and I see another email, I get distracted. I might not continue that process until next time. So that's like a reason why people drop off from platforms. When they get to their emails, they get distracted, they start replying emails, they see other things that take their attention. So it's important that as they are signing up, you allow them to experience the platform, do what they want to do. And then, maybe if it's so important, restrict some of the flows to certain things. Evelyn said there is no appropriate notification that he has signed up. Yes, that his sign up was confirmed. So if you're even going to say, okay, let's go through the part of verifying emails. When the email is verified and the user comes back, is launched back to the platform, let there be something telling users, communicating better to users, telling users that, oh, okay, there is a mistake here. Or I say mistake. Your email has been confirmed and you're now into the platform, you're signed in into the platform, or something that makes them know that they're already in the platform. I said a pop-up to show that they have successfully registered on the platform when they click the verify email. Yes, that's the same thing. So yeah, thank you everyone. You see that with this little test we've carried out, we're able to discover, like, it was just a short time and it was just one person, but we're able to discover like a problem with a platform. Imagine we do it with like 3 more people or 5 more people, and we'll see that they all have the same issue. And this is just someone who is not even a developer or who is not even like in our participant requirement. So it's important we as much as possible carry out usability tests. It can be 1 person, it can be 3 people, it can be 5 people. Our advice always go with the round number 5. Try to talk to 5 people. If you can't get 5 people, talk to 3 people at least. They can even be in your friends circle. If you don't have anybody, talk to your friends. Ask them. I randomly send screenshots of designs that I'm working on to my friends, and I'm like, oh, what do you think? What do you think when you look at this? What comes to your mind? Do you get? Just to get their opinion, just to get a second opinion. Do you get? So as much as possible, don't design in solo. Ask for feedback. Ask for feedback from users. Test with your users. It's very important. So yeah, with that, we've come to the end of this session. I'll be sharing let me share the link to the document so that everyone has access to it and can duplicate it on their platform as templates. So here you go. Yeah. So Lastly, I would ask, what was the highlight of the session? I think that would be Favor taking over. What was the highlight of the session? You can drop it in the comment section. You can share it on Twitter. Tag Treford as well on Twitter. Just share it as much as possible. Share it across every social media platform. Tell us what you've learned. Tell us what notes you've taken, and be sure to always continue coming back for the sessions. So yeah, I would hand over to Favor now, or are there people who have questions?
Yes, that was where I was going. Like, I wanted to, first off, everyone, please go ahead to thank Thelma for this awesome session. Thank you so much for this session. Thank you very much. So please, let's go ahead, use the reactions to show some love, clap, and thank Thelma. It was really, really interesting and a very, very insightful session. I apologize for me coming during the test. It was reflex trying to resolve issues on the go. I noticed your expression. Oh, I'm like, oh, no, I shouldn't have said that. But yeah, thank you so much. It was really insightful. And now let's take questions. If you have questions, through the process, I remember earlier in the session where Mary, I think that was why she was raising her hand, consistently asking a question about, the type of compensation we can give to users who are trying to test. So if you probably have suggestions and ideas about type of compensations, compensation we can give to people who are testing, yes, I think she affirms that again. Yes. So.
Okay. Okay, I can just come right in there. One is, it depends on your budget as a company. So what is the company's budget? Do they have budget they can have a budget of 20,000. So you just think about, what can I get for these people? It can be souvenirs. If you're bringing them in, it can just be maybe snacks for them to eat, and maybe a tip, maybe 2K for transportation or something. It just depends on how much your company has, or how much the budget for the usability test is. Most times, there are times when there are no budgets. Let me be honest with you. There are times when there are no budgets, and what you can do is what I do is I'm always super grateful. I keep saying thank you so much during this session that the person might just get tired of hearing thank you. So you can just explore that aspect of saying thank you so much for agreeing to do this with me. And then at the end of the session, always send them like a sweet thank you mail or a sweet thank you message, wherever, whatever, maybe a text message or an email, just thanking them for their time again, because it's going to do you a lot of good to carry out tests with these people, and they're the ones doing you a favor at all time. So it's either you pay them in money or by thanking them so much.
Thank you so much for that answer. Thank you very much. Maybe let us know in chat if that's okay. And I see a lot of questions are coming. Do you want to take them from your hand, or should I read them out?
No, I can handle it from here. At what point do we carry out usability tests? So I should have highlighted that in my talk, but I think I probably missed the slide. So the points where we carry out usability tests is in between. I love to carry out usability tests when I have the design prototypes ready, so that it doesn't take so much effort from an engineering point of view. So before the engineers are even right at it, or when they are still starting, they're still like that time when, they're still trying to get accustomed to it. You're done with design. They're still trying to, set up things on their end. That period gets people start work with them hands-on, get feedback, and start designing. Or when you're even done with, and that way is when you're done with the bulk of the work, the core features, there are usually core features in the platform. So you can start testing when you're still you can start testing that core feature, pending when, you can now complete the other parts of the design. Do you get? So you can test during that phase. You can even test when you're starting out the design, you've created a page, you're unsure, you can just randomly meet somebody and say, oh, what do you think of this? But if you're testing an experience, a flow, you can just wait till you're done and then you can ask people, please come in and test with me. What do you think about this flow? How usable is this flow? And then watch them interact with it. So it's not always advisable to wait till, engineers are done and maybe a feature is set in stone. That's like a very harmful time to start testing, because if it's a major change, most times you discover a major change, and if it's a major change, it's going to be waste of engineering effort, and it might not happen in that quarter or in that sprint. It might be moved to the next sprint. You get, but it's important you test. And if you test, let's say, a design prototype and it's so much, you can adjust it then, or you can work with your team and add it to the roadmap. So you're very aware of this feedback, but I advise you implement it then, because it's better to get it right than to, launch. But if it's in beta, then you have to add it to like your next releases, but making sure that you test and be aware of loopholes at all these points. You can test at various points, but majorly before so much work has gone into this thing. Is there any other community? I don't understand what that means. Any other community for what? Andy, is it okay to test low fee prototypes? Yes, it's very okay to test them. Yeah, it's a good time to test as well. So is it the flow that you're testing? But I struggle a lot with testing low fee prototypes, because most people, you have to do a lot of explaining at this phase. You have to do a lot of talking at this phase. So unless it is people, when you can, I would agree with testing with low fidelity is when you carried out, let's say, the first phase of the research, you spoke to users at the first phase of the research. So you can bring in those same people when you're starting to iterate your prototype. So you can bring them in and ask them to look at the ideas you have, the low fidelity, because they will be able to grasp easily. Oh, we talked about this. This is where this session will be. But if you didn't speak to users before then, and you're testing the low fidelity prototypes with them, they might not really understand. Do you get? So yeah, that's why it's going to be a struggle doing this. But if you spoke to users, or you have existing users and you're adding a new feature, then they're already your users. So when you're adding something, they can vibe with it. And when you mention something, they can, flow with whatever you're saying. Mary is asking also, what happens when you don't meet target amount to interview? Also, do you need to state how many people you interviewed when reporting? Yes, you should state how many people you spoke to. Also, do you have a user research report template? Yes, I have that, but I don't have a template format. I can work on a report template and share as well. I can work on a report template. I have one, but yeah, you can use the one in my slides. There's a template in my slide. You can just use it and have it for your own report template here. And that's actually one to use. I didn't do a Notion document for that. What happens when you don't meet the target amount to interview? Is it the amount, the number of people you want to interview? Is that what you're talking about? Mary, you can unmute and talk. You see me? I can't hear you, Mary.
I can't hear her as well. I think she's unmuted, but I can hear her. Probably I'll suggest Mary types.
Okay. Also, do you need to state how many? Okay, I've answered that. Yeah, okay. What do you do if a user doesn't give you enough info, even after asking open-ended questions? You just end the interview. Do you get? End the interview, find other users. There are going to be people that will be willing. You have to keep, if you didn't get anything out of that interview, you have to interview people who, you just have to keep interviewing others. There are some interviews you have and you don't have enough information out of it. Do you get? So you can just let it go. There's nothing to do. You can't beef the person. It's just that that's how they are, and maybe they don't even have enough context. Okay. David sent a message. He said, when you design, there are some features that might not work until it goes through engineering, and that feature needs to go through testing. So what do you do? I don't understand this question, David. When you design, there are some features that might not work until it goes through engineering. So if I get you correctly, there are features that they might not make sense until it goes through engineering, if that's what you're saying. So most times it's important to loop engineers into the process. So as I'm already working, so you can test it regardless. You can test it and get what users are saying about it. You can test it regardless. And it's also important to loop engineers in the process of, like, in your design process. Don't bring them in late. Let them be in the process so they know what will work, what will not work, you know, what will come in later. Not that you're introducing something new and everybody's shocked everywhere. Do you get? So that's also something. Maria, let's say I'm building a new idea and it's really rare in my location. How do I come up with interview questions knowing that people haven't used this product before? How do you come up with interview questions? So you have to define your goals for the interview. So what do you want to achieve with the interview? From what you want to achieve, it will help you frame your questions, because looking at your questions, you can be able to determine, oh, was this objective achieved? Am I able to, like, tie this question back to this objective that I've set, or back to this goal that I've set? So when you have your objectives, that's what helps you in framing your questions. So if you have an idea that is new or rare in your location, you have to also know who you're building for. So are these people in your location? Do you get? Are they in your location? So you have to find them and interview them. Also, another thing you have to note is there are times when, you know, you can make an assumption of the type of people you want to interview. This has happened to me once. So I had an assumption of people I wanted to interview for a particular product that I was working on. And when I started the interview, I realized that I wasn't getting the amount of insight I wanted. So I had to change my participants' requirements entirely, because these people were not giving. I interviewed about 5 people, and it was not just making sense. It was not answering the question. They were not answering the questions I wanted. So immediately I had to change everything. So it happens in the process, and you should be aware of it. So it's important to set your objectives and track everything, tie everything back to whatever objectives and goals that you've planned to achieve. And when it's not hitting that, ensure that you find out where you're missing it and change it immediately so you don't waste time. Notion link for the test and the slide. Yes, I would get the slides soon. I can't hear you, Mary. Okay, this was seen. So what are the tools you recommend for quantitative usability test? I've never really carried out a quantitative usability test. So I would say tools I can recommend for that. It would be most likely, I would research on that basically. I don't have anything off on the top of my head because I've never carried out a quantitative research before, usability test before. How many people you internet interview? Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't scroll down. How many people you intended to interview? Let's say 100, but you only get 45. If you set out to speak to 100 people and you only get 45, don't be sad. You are not alone. We are all of us. All of us are in this thing together. So it's actually like the most stressed in the process, getting people to interview. So that was why I mentioned earlier that you might not have to speak to as many people as you might just need to, speak to 5 people for usability test. So you might just have to speak to like 5 people to uncover insights about your design, to uncover so much insights about your design. So if you're looking to speak to 100 people, I would say start out with, that's going to be a lot of stress for you, Sha. But like, if you want to do 20, your target should be 50. So how do you get 50 people to come and, to get into your test session? So one way to do that is utilizing community. That can help a lot. Also, communities where these people that you're looking for exist. So it's not just any community. Let's say you're designing a doctor's application. What are the various platforms that doctors use more? Do you get? If it's possible, get into a hospital and just ask for time. If you have that should be maybe your family hospital, have some alliance with them or something. Most times, I've never designed a hospital application, but I have a couple of doctors as friends. So if I'm going to do that, I will just reach out to them to ask them questions and ask them if there are platforms that doctors use that they can introduce me to. Do you get? But I would say talking to 100 people, well, it depends on what you're interviewing for, basically. For testing prototypes, there is what platforms would you suggest for testing prototypes? This is Andy's question. I would say platforms. I would say Lookback is a great one. I've used Lookback before, so it's super nice and super easy, but it's a paid platform. You can try user testing as well. It's also another nice one that I've tried. There's one other one that I've tried. I can't remember the name, but these are the two ones that I know that you can try. I don't understand this. Of an objective, an example of an objective. Okay. Andy, I just got your question. Yes, some features are difficult to implement in the prototype phase, like maps, location. Yes, there are features that are difficult to implement in the design phase, in the prototype phase. Yes, something like maps, so they can't really interact with it at that phase, and locations. So what I do is when they click on it, it just shows them how it looks like in the previewed version. So let's say for research now, I do like the various stages. I design like the various steps. So when you click on the start, how is it going to be? It will be there with a mouse icon blinking there. So it's just going to be there. They'll see the map icon, the mouse icon blinking there. When they type something, when they click on it again, it shows them how it's going to look like when it's previewed. And it looks like they're searching something. And when they click on cancel, it takes them back, just as much as possible, trying to show them all of that in that phase. Of course, we can't cover everything in the prototype phase. That's also why you should try doing beta testing when before fully launching. So when it's done developing, you can start testing again with users. And this test, you might not necessarily have to improve anything in design. It's just you noting down things with your team that you can do incrementally as time progresses in your roadmap. Just add it to your roadmap. Oh, we are being aware of this. And as time goes on, you keep picking features from your roadmap to implement. An example of an objective can be just what I said earlier. It can be to discover flaws and loopholes in the sign-up process for users. So that can be an objective. So every question you're going to ask will have to tie down to that. Do you have any design system you can recommend that can work for mobile and web? Design system? How do you mean, Ned? How do you mean design system? From YouTube, okay, from YouTube. Okay, someone asked a question from YouTube. Okay, in a scenario whereby the development team wants to ship ASAP and they scrap out usability test, what should you do? Let the development team start. Do you get? Let them be coding, but you carry out your usability test. Like when I work with teams, when I've carried out usability tests, like developers have started working, but I'm still doing I don't even need to inform them. I don't need them to, know that I'm doing this thing. I just go on. The most person I can mention it to can be my design manager, my product manager. So we work hand in hand to achieve that. But they don't need to have full context into what you're doing. What you have to do is share the result of what you've done with them, unless you want to bring them in. But for them, because there is time constraints, they might not want to wait. So you have to just go on and do it with your product manager or your design manager. Just let somebody be in the loop of the process. They can know that you're doing it, but tell them that you shouldn't stop what they are doing. You can go on and do what you're doing. Then if you uncover these insights, you can now relate it back to them. These are the things I've uncovered. I think these are the tiny fixes we can do now. And I think we should do it now before we launch. It's better for everybody that we do it now before we launch. Do you get? So if they insist on scrapping it out, don't worry. Don't even, just inform them that you're still going to do it, but it's not going to stop their development. They can keep developing while you keep testing. You get? And then when you get your insights, you inform them. Also, is a market research a job of a UX designer? It depends on what your job description says, but what I would say is market research. You can just have as much knowledge as possible as to what the market is saying as regards your products. It's important you have that knowledge. If you're the only one on the team solely in charge of research, you can do it as well. It doesn't matter. But if you have a market researcher who has been hired for that, then the person should do it. Okay. Thank you, Moshoba, for sharing, Maze. Okay, the last question is the community.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you talk on that favor? Thank you.
Okay, so the Treford design community. I'll share the link to that in an email after this session. So everyone who's interested in joining can join the community and carry on the conversations there. It's a Telegram community, so Telegram, by the way. So yes, I think there's one more question from Ibuku, and I think that will be the last question we'll be taking today.
Okay, are there scenarios where you would have to go back to test after reporting? You won't really have to go back to test after reporting. I think you go back to testing after you've implemented, whatever feedback they've shared with you. So when you get these insights from your testing session, what you have to do is report. After reporting, then you can now implement it. So everybody, the phase of reporting is just so that key stakeholders are in the knowledge, because most people just want to see the numbers. Most people just want to see the insights. Nobody wants to do the hard job of watching the videos, except it's necessary. So nobody wants to do the job of watching these videos. So your own job is just to report, share the document with them, add the design recommendations. So after you're done, the next thing is to implement what you've uncovered. After you're done implementing, you can test it, maybe one or two other people along the line, or just hold on till you launch fully. Most times it's advisable you wait till you launch fully, and then in that process, you just keep tracking your data and uncovering more insights. Or when you beta launch, like launching the beta version, then you can keep tracking. So yeah, that would be all. So thank you so much, everyone, for the questions. I really enjoyed sharing. I feel like we made a good use of our 2 hours. I hope you enjoyed this session as much as I do. Thank you for the questions. Thank you, Larry, for volunteering for this session, for the testing session. And yeah. Yes, I can drop my social media. It's at Dikitelma K across board everywhere. So ensure you reach out if you have any further questions. Yes, I'll share it with Favor. Sorry. Favor,
No
and
problem.
share it with everyone who registered. Let me see. Should be able to get it out.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much, Thelma, once again. I really, really appreciate, Treford appreciates, and everyone in the room appreciates. And once again, we can do that by sharing our reactions on Zoom. And yes, also, you can go on to whichever platform you like the most and share what you learned, be it on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, on YouTube, where it's been live streamed right now. You can just go there and comment and say how much you enjoyed it, and the session, share tips of what you learned, and you can follow us on all of those platforms to engage and get more interesting and learning content from Treford. If you have any more questions, you can drop it under those threads, and we'll do what to answer it. Thank you very much to everyone who has joined in the session. Masterclass